Welcome to the Public Sector Innovation Podcast, sponsored by Rackspace Government Solutions and AWS. I'm John Meyer from Meyer Media, and today we're exploring how to leverage partnerships effectively in the public sector technology space. Whether you're a government leader, evaluating vendor relationships, or interested in how do strategic partners drive innovation and value, you're in the right place. Here to discuss partnerships, strategies, and best practices is Jeff, VP of State, Local Government, and Education at Rackspace, and Sahar, Director of Partner Business Development from Carahsoft. Sahar, what is your role at Carahsoft?
I am the Director of Partner Business Development. I've been with the company 11 and a half years. My team's role is to enable and empower our partners and make sure that they have access to all of the distribution capabilities that Carahsoft has to offer.
Jeff, what's your role at Rackspace?
At Rackspace, I've been there for 9 years, and today I lead the state and local government and education sector, both here in the U.S. and in Canada.
Sahar, can you tell us what the partnership or relationship is like with Rackspace?
Yeah, Rackspace is one of our most unique partners in that I think of them. They've been a reseller with us for a number of years and a number of manufacturers. They're a managed service provider in this space. So we treat them as a vendor and we try and help support a number of end customers with managed services offered by Rackspace. And then they're a huge partner with us for AWS as well, kind of in all of those different ways. And so it's been great. We've collaborated a lot together.
It feels like a strong partnership,
Absolutely.
like a relationship between a strong collaboration.
Yeah, well, it's like people say it all the time. You have to like who you work with, right? And so building that trust and understanding the two-way benefits for us and how we partner together to enable customers. I mean, that's really the key, right? So there's a lot of companies like Rackspace. There's some companies, because Carahsoft is very unique and very large global company, but it's about the individuals and how they connect and how they plan and how they work together to really add that value to the customer.
Some people will say you're not really partnering with the company, you're partnering with the people at the company. That's where the relationships are built.
Yeah. And I think um, between our teams as well, we're very collaborative, we're very honest, we're very supportive of how do we together successfully support a customer. I think we have a shared mission, we have shared values when it comes to being entrusted, trusting our partners. We have similar mindsets of we're looking to support a customer, we're looking to grow our footprint and doing that together. We can bounce ideas off each other all the time.
Jeff, why would somebody partner with a company like Carahsoft?
There's a number of reasons, right? Specifically for us, we knew the value of Carahsoft. We've been partners with Carahsoft for some time, Rackspace Technology as a whole, right? Now, the Rackspace Government Solutions category of our business, we knew the value going in, and we knew that we could rely on a few things, right? They come to the partner ecosystem with pre-negotiated contracts, go to market, and support sales, support for sales, co-marketing. There's things in the compliance and security categories for procurement and streamlining those processes for us and partners that Carahsoft provides. And then obviously the distribution and fulfillment category is really key for us in regards to how we work with Carahsoft. So Carahsoft has a large spectrum of value. And again, it goes back to what you said. Although they might have all those things, it really starts to accelerate and start to build when you start to really work with teams that really are invested in the same way you are.
One company can't do it all, right? And leveraging others. So, like Rackspace, you get to leverage their expertise, their distribution, their channels, everything, and vice versa, right? So, Carousels get to leverage partners like Rackspace to
Yeah.
do more, to enable more. And what you're really doing is enabling your customers to do more.
Yeah. And the way that I see it, and in my entire Caresoft career, I've been supporting partners, whether with AWS or before that with other manufacturers. But Caresoft is a sales and marketing company, and we've been in this space over 20 years, in public sector for over 20 years. We have customer relationships. We're good at picking up the phone and calling a customer. We're good at putting on events at scale. We're good at having big presence at industry events like the AWS summit here. We're good at putting on lunch and learns and webcasts and everything that it takes to create a cohesive marketing strategy, and having inside sales resources as well. And where we really lean and partner with our industry partners is with the message. What do you want us to if you could leverage Carahsoft for scale, what do you want us to tell those customers? Because over these 20 years, we've built the customer relationships, we have the contract vehicles, they're buying something from us from our hundreds of manufacturers. And so how can we use what the value that's in those relationships to help solve new problems that people like Rackspace are solving and AWS are solving? And so it really, like it is completely logical. You're exactly right. One company can't do everything, and these partnerships are so powerful because I think we know exactly what we're very good at, and that is arming and scaling their message, and they know, hey, we could go hire 200 marketing people. We could go, you know, hire 500 sales reps all across the country. We could hire a bunch of contracts people and proposals people. But why? When you could literally outsource all of that to Carahsoft, and accelerate a lot faster.
So all of that 100%, right? For me as a partner of Carousel, Carousel becomes a force multiplier in many ways, right? And so I think it's a really unique relationship. It's strategic and all of those things, but also it allows me as a business leader to kind of build out the portfolio of resources, of channel, of marketing, of sales enablement that allows me to get our brand, to get our superpowers out to the public sector community, right? And so as a partner, what I would always say, and what we've done is instead of just knowing all the value that Carousel brings day one, it's really that day zero of internal conversations and planning and building criteria and standards for my business so that I understand what our superpowers are. Where are we really strong? Where do we need help? And really building criteria for what are we trying to do in this space, right? And John, you know this, state versus state, those missions are completely different, even though it's state government. City versus city, county versus county, they're all unique missions and critical to constituents and students and higher education, all of the things to include faculty. And so understanding that we're not trying to boil the ocean because Carousel has this huge menu of greatness that they can provide a partner, but really kind of scaling down and focusing on the areas that you really want to be good at, precise, and really build a strategy around, then going to Carahsoft allows Carahsoft and Rackspace to work together to identify those particular areas where we can touch antennas, if you will, and really focus on those things that matter most.
Yeah.
Jeff, Sahar mentioned scaling, right? She could go out, a company can go out and buy all this marketing. You can get all these people and do all this stuff yourself. But I think one of the value is you already have this stuff in place for you to spend and do all this initiative. You know a lot of the state, the rules and regulations,
Yeah.
or how to get to these. What I feel the benefit of a strong partnership that you have is that your customers are benefiting from this because now what they do is if they want to do something, they have something in the local government and it needs to be done. Well, you have the means to do it because of the partnership. You can get it done faster for the customer because you don't have to go through all the approvals, the regulations, the requirements.
Right. So it is the reason why, you know, all the criteria I just mentioned, right? Then that allows, me to really be precise in how we engage Carousel, right? So it's speed to market. What you're really talking about is speed to market, right? And we want to get our brand out there, and sure, my staff, my key leaders, and my sales reps can go out and knock on doors, make phone calls, gain meetings and opportunities for introductions one by one by one, or you can find a partner that has the ecosystem both in the partner category and in the customer category across the US, across counties, across cities, and higher education institutions, and then really figure out how they can help echo what you're trying to tell one person. Now they're telling 1,000 people. Now they're telling 200,000 people, and we're getting our brand out there very clearly. And that co-marketing strategy is clear, right? So do we want this to be on the East Coast, on the West Coast? Is it just in Texas alone, or is it something special? Are we doing focusing on cities? Are we focused on counties? We're focused on higher education only. I mean, it's a campaign, right? So All of those things really matter. But I think when you have the power and all the force multiplying capabilities that Carahsoft has, you also, as a business leader and a partner, you got to be careful about not trying to boil that ocean, right? Speed to market counts.
Sahar, one of the biggest things that I've noticed lately is partners and companies are doubling down on partners.
Yeah.
Your initiative, they're investing more in it. And it feels like this is a two-way street. It's not one is versus the other. You guys are doubling down and invested in each other
Yeah.
to provide stronger, more reliable services and a relationship.
Yeah. I think I'm not going to go too far into this, but in today's climate, I think there's a lot of, we want customers to be able to save money. We want customers to have, and we're in an incredible time of innovation and technology. And now we're hearing our government customers are being, um, they've always been told to innovate, but they're being told to innovate very quickly. And it's, again, not one partner that is going to do that for them. It is all of us as an industry that need to come together to help our customers achieve this mission. And there's a couple strings in that we talk about a lot. There's the cost element of it. How are we going to do all of this with less? How are we going to get solutions in government customers' hands faster? Um, a- and and then there's the entire discussion of, in government, contracting is so complex. Yes, there's vehicles, there's distributors like Carahsoft, there's resellers, there's managed service providers, there's SIs, there's all of these partners in different. We have this slide that shows all of the complexity of selling to a government customer. It's not a commercial sale. It's not just, here you go, thanks so much, like we're done. These sales cycles can take 6 to 9 months. You'll be working on some of these deals. And part of the complexity is, do we have a contract vehicle? Do we have the right types of partners to engage? And so I think so much of what, like, this is really our time to kind of come together. And I strongly believe that what our team brings to the table is going to be even more important, that as Jeff's team is out talking to customers and they're being charged with innovating quickly, and we need AI solutions on contract that we can buy by the end of next week, or we're trying to do this in the next 60 days, for Jeff to get new vendor solutions on contracts, for Jeff's team to get customers trained and enabled quickly with new solutions, for his team to get exposure to those, for us to pull in, things even like AWS Marketplace. Like, our team is used to responding to customer asks very quickly. And so all Jeff does is, hey, we need to get this on contract by the end of the week. And you guys own 300 contract vehicles. What does this customer usually buy off of? Let's go get it added to that contract immediately. Let's get a statement of work to the customer. Let's get the product in their hand. Let's leverage things like AWS Marketplace to do it quickly. Um, and I kind of go back to, like, there's a lot of layers in this, but every one of those layers plays an important role. And so I think, the power of partnership is going to, like, become even more important as we continue to support our government customers to, what we're seeing as this huge transformation.
Yeah, well said. I'll be honest with you. She mentioned it. You know, the enablement that we do when we join forces, right, and we really start to add value, and then we partner at the same time with AWS, right, who brings in um, funding
Yeah.
programs for low cost, no cost entry in a time where CIOs, executive directors are looking for ways to get that acceleration to new technology, emerging technologies, or a migration of some sort, but they want to do it cost effective, right? In these times right now, cost efficiency is top of mind for everybody. And so there are things that you can't control, right? My grant was put on hold or something happened. And there are things that we can control as partners, as invested, genuine partners to our customers, which is funding programs and ways to be efficient and thinking about cost optimization up front, and architecting your environments where they are cost effective and they're still able to grow and scale, right? And so you think about all the cloud native solutions that AWS and Rackspace has, and you think about all of the ecosystem and the support that Carahsoft brings. There is a lot of good things that we are still in control of, and where we can enable customers to be efficient.
Jeff, you said it a couple times. Sahar said it a couple times. Cost. Cost is top of mind for everybody.
Yeah.
How to be more cost effective, more cost efficient. You mentioned a couple of things that you're doing, or initiatives, or things that you're looking at. But how are you helping some of those customers tackle those costs, whether it's with their contract, whether it's with their environment, whether
Yeah.
it's with their relationship?
Yeah, I think there's a few things. And you know, before we would walk in the door and say, cost optimization is what you need. Oh no, FinOps is what you need. Oh, we need to do, containerization. That's what you need. Before all of that happens, the way my team approaches customers is that we actually approach them in a very precise manner, right? We're very methodical about our approach with customers. We do our own research. Again, state versus state, county versus county, they're all different, right? They all have different challenges. And so we have to sit back and listen, do the research on our own, but also listen to what we can do to understand and better understand the challenges and the critical mission that they're responsible for. Each each city has unique variables inside those ecosystems. And so understanding those things very clearly allows us to then figure out, okay, let's present you with options for cost savings, or to be cost conscious, if you will, right? Cost optimization is one of them based on what we know about your environment and what you've shared with us. It's a two-way street, even with the customer. They have to feel confident, and you have to earn the trust for them to share exactly where they're at and where they want to go, right? And so they have priorities, they have strategies. You should understand what those are before walking in that door, right? And so once that relationship is built and that trust is earned, then you get to start to really talk about the things where I call we allow them to speak, and share, and we start to dispel some of the myths if they exist. Myths around hybrid cloud, public cloud, private cloud, whatever that is, and give them an agnostic way of looking at things, but opinionated, right, through our expert lens, so that they can share enough information that we can provide options for them. Cost savings, cost optimization, right sizing, all of those things are critical and should be discussed, right? But a lot of folks want to start out in front, and what we like to do is look back. Typically, a CIO already has some sort of an assessment that's been done for them, and they're looking at that assessment and they don't know what to do next. And so we work with them to take that assessment and figure out, what does your current environment have as far as options for efficiency, right? It could be some underutilized instances, perhaps, or it could be an opportunity for some sort of cost optimization funding programs. And so we go down that list. The other thing I mentioned was, on the technical side, our teams work with their teams. I say this a lot, and I know Sahara's heard me say it, is we focus on doing with, not just doing for, right? And you can't do
That's
that.
actually very key, because if you start doing for them, they don't understand the change. You're just doing the change, or you're just handling the work and you're done, and then they don't see the value of it.
You're
Yeah,
partnering with them. You're
they're
truly
partnering.
partnering with
Yeah.
them.
There's two things if you start doing for, right, day one. One, you're walking in with assumptions. I know, you don't. Let me do it for you. Two, you're missing the opportunity to really gain the long-term experience that's already in-house. These CIOs have a tremendous amount of wealth and knowledge and technical expertise within their ecosystems, in their departments, and you have to sit with them and better understand exactly what they're going through to kind of move forward together. So again, do with, right? And so when you start to do that technically, smarter guys than me, or girls will share, things like containerization, things like landing zones, things like that will help security compliance, compliant clouds, all those things. AWS has a great option for government clouds, from their portfolio of solutions. And so you start to walk down that path to include working together to figure out how we can build and instill a culture of accountability, cost accountability, right, for that CIO and their staff, right? Whether it's running reports, doing proactive monitoring for chargebacks, making it easier to understand the bills that are coming in, providing monitoring for them for alerts within their budgetary limits, and so that they can focus on more about what's most critical. That is important, but they're spending a lot of manual time doing that. So again, back to savings. There is savings in monetary savings, and there is time savings, which is also just as critical.
Something that Rackspace and Carahsoft have really aligned on, and not intentionally, I think this is part of why we've been so successful, is that they lead with becoming a trusted advisor with a customer. And we teach all of our reps the importance of being entrusted by our partners and our vendors and our customers. It's just something that's been central to how we run our business as well. And I think that that just naturally has really worked very well together. But I liked what you kind of walked through, the approach of even just cost savings, like taking the approach of, we're not talking about cost savings for a second, we're talking about what's important to this customer, and we'll achieve cost savings, but there's a lot more that goes into that than just buzzwords and flashy, you know, things like, I said it earlier in a conversation, and he's like, it's not just FinOps, it's not just cost optimization. Like those are just buzzwords, but like, what is what is the work that is being done to really make a customer trust that you are saving them money? And so they do that. That's how they approach solving customer problems and government problems. And one of my favorite ways in which we've engaged as two companies is a really big customer event that we do in Texas, in Austin, Texas. And we have leaders from government agencies that come and join us. And it's not a, we're coming to tell you what we think is really important and going on. It is a forum for 200 plus customers to come together and leaders from these agencies to come together and share the problems that they're facing today. What is the reality of AI? It's being shoved down our throats. We've got to figure out AI, but like, how do we do that today? And here's how we're struggling as an agency. And one of the most, and I say this to everyone, it's my favorite event. I always walk away smarter because we go in to listen to our customers, and we go in with the mindset of, we're not here to tell you what we think is important. We want you to tell us what's important to you, so that then as an industry, we can all come together and help you solve that. So when we're here next year, we're talking about different problems because there always are going to be new problems, but we've helped you move forward in your initiatives. And I think just that in itself of like, okay, you could very easily say it's just a marketing event. It's just a customer forum. It's just another conference. But we're doing such meaningful work at these types of events. And I think that like we've been able to partner so well there together. We're always saying, what's the next one? Where are we doing this again? Where are we doing it again?
I personally love that as well. That's my favorite event as well. I mean, it's a standing room only. And I was thinking while we're on stage and I'm, moderating a panel of, a chief data officer, a CIO, an AWS expert, we're talking about data governance. And I'm looking out in the crowd and I'm like, wow, what brings everybody here this way? And everybody's leaning in and listening about how the CDO is asking, the public sector community, right? Not just customers, but partners as well, right? Asking them, if you're going to embrace data governance, this is what I would need, or somebody in my role would need you to be thinking about. This is how we want you to approach it. When you go back to your agencies, your department, your higher education institution, think about these challenges and have this sort of approach, so that person in my role can do whatever they can do to make our environment, to make our institution, our department, our state, our school better, right? And so when when it's less about you, the vendor, and all the shiny objects that you offer, and it's more about the relevant, the here, the recent, the challenges, and maybe even some success stories, I think it allows people to really kind of lean in and take away something that might be value for them starting tomorrow, right? Or to follow up on, or to research in. And I think that's really key. Yeah.
And you hear their passion for solving these problems. Like that's
Yeah.
like the most
You're
astounding thing to
solving
me.
real world
Real
problems. You're not solving problems that don't exist
Yeah.
yet, or trying to invent a solution for a problem that you think somebody might have. You're
Yeah.
listening to them, and then you're solving those problems. So
Yeah.
next time around, you're enhancing and changing it. And
Yeah.
that's why people come to it, because somebody's actually listening to the problem that they want to solve. They're not trying to sell them something that they invented, a solution that
Right.
the
Right.
problem doesn't
And that's
exist.
very easy to say, but I think you're going to be you're most successful in life.
Well, that's why
Yeah.
people would actually buy it.
Yeah.
They would come to you. They would talk to you
Yeah.
because you care about the problem they're having,
Yeah.
not about making money.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Sahar and I talk about it, but I think they align in all three of these categories, but our team really focuses, on community, on education, on partnerships. And, those three pillars really allow us to make sure that we have a wide lens on the things that our customers, the public sector community really cares about. It allows us to still be humble enough to actually sit back and say, okay, how do we get better, right? This whole industry is evolving, right? Sahar mentioned it. You know, the emerging technologies are coming at these CIOs and their staffs and departments is amazing. So how do they consume that? I want to take on this emerging technology. I've heard about agentic. I've heard about this. I've heard about that. How do I get into that game and still support and secure and be compliant within this critical mission that I have? Different than commercial, right? And so those are the conversations. Those are the things that we start with. So let me tell me about your ethics statement around emerging technologies. Oh, I haven't thought about that. Okay, let's talk through that, right? Tell me about your data governance strategy. Well, we're starting that, or we have one in place. Now, I want to be clear. There are some public sector organizations that are doing it right, and they are leading the way. But there are a lot of them that need help, and there are a lot of them that just want to have that conversation, or they just need to hit that pause button so they can conversate and think about their why and how we move forward. And I think that's important.
Definitely. Jeff, Sahar, as I wrap things up, one of the last questions I have for you is that Rackspace and Carahsoft has been really successful at leveraging AWS programs,
Yeah.
initiatives out there. Sahar, do you have any advice for others looking to do the same?
Yeah. AWS invests heavily in partners. That's why part of why we're partnered with AWS. We work very closely with them, and they invest in partners being successful. That said, there's a lot of programs to leverage. There's a lot of benefits to get, and I think for a new partner starting, or even honestly a very mature partner, they're probably leaving, potentially credits or funding for customers, or there's program benefits, with marketplace or ISV programs. It's very difficult to navigate all of the hundreds of programs there are. And so my advice is always, um, again, as public sector experts and good partners of AWS, we've become experts in a lot of the programs that services, reseller partners, managed service providers, ISVs can leverage and should be leveraging in public sector. And so, I always offer to my partners, talk to someone on our team to make sure, are you getting all of the benefits from AWS that you can be getting? Because there are a lot. And let our team help you navigate those. And we've got a number of experts on our team that can do that.
Jeff, what advice would you give?
Communicate, right? Communicate is being open about what you're trying to accomplish with both folks like Carahsoft and AWS allows those partners to really figure out and identify areas where they can help, right? So again, less about boiling the ocean and more about specific what is it that I'm trying to enable and accomplish within the public sector community, right? And so AWS, to Sahar's point, they have hundreds of programs that you can get involved in. Not all of them are made for you, right? So figure out, speak with AWS. One of the things I love about AWS is that they are so leaned in and focused on customer obsession, on partner success. They will spend the time, they will invest to share the knowledge, the programs, the training, the certifications to make you as successful as you want to be. But let me be clear, there are programs out there that some people might say, oh, wow, I can get something for free, or they're going to walk me into all these opportunities. It's not about that. It's a two-way street. It's a two-way street between Rackspace and Carahsoft, and it's a two-way street between AWS. And if you can approach it in that manner, and you're bringing value to the party as well, and you're communicating and you're transparent, and you have a high, what I call high say-do ratio. If you say it, then we do it. Then you really start to build that trust that matters, and you start to accelerate out to the market. And the customers can see that you're coming to them both with an ecosystem, expertise, and a genuine investment.
One of the biggest thing with AWS and an AWS partner, Jeff, you said it, two-way street, right? Don't go to them assuming that they're going to land some deals for you. You have to be invested in them as much as they are invested in you. The communication is very key. Talk often. The programs out there, Sahar, I know there are so many of them, and it's tough to navigate sometimes, but you got to speak to the experts who understand it, who can navigate, and they will get you some of those programs, and they will help you those initiatives that are starting, things that you want to do, new programs, POCs. AWS is all in as long as you are all in. Jeff, I got to thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. Sahar, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yep, this has been a pleasure. Everybody, thank you for joining us on the Public Sector Innovation Podcast, sponsored by Rackspace Government Solutions and AWS, where we're exploring and leveraging effective partnerships in the public sector. To learn more about Rackspace, head on over to rackspace.com.